What's going down, everybody? Welcome back to another Top 5 in 5 right here on Commander Cookout. Today, following up from last week's Top 5 aggro tips, we've got the Top 5 tips for playing Control. Don't forget, we're brought to you by FusionGamingOnline.com, your source for all your Control needs. Head on over, use the promo code on your screen. You're going to get a discount on all the stuff that you're going to want anyways. And when you think Control, I know you're thinking Wrath of God, Force of Will, Force of Negation. Those cards, yeah, some of them cost a few bucks. We're not going to be talking about those today because I'm giving you some more ethereal tips. But if you're going to buy those cards, you go to Fusion, use the promo code, get a discount. Makes sense. Makes sense, Control player. You're obviously smart enough to save money. Money. If you like the content, if you want to become part of CCO Nation, you head on over to patreon.com/CCO podcast. Get in the Discord, find games of Magic online, contribute to the content, and become part of the best community in Magic. Now, let's get to it with the top 5 tips for playing Control. Kick it off with number 5. Okay, number 5. Don't counter the first spell, or don't remove the first creature, whatever it is. Let those things kind of stew and brew and see what's going to happen. See what your opponents think of your commander, or develop some mana first. Probably nothing in the first few turns of the game is going to be so high threat that you're going to need to eliminate it that early. Let things brew a little bit. Number 4. Avoid granting favors. If you grant one favor, you got to grant another. Or somebody's going to say, oh, you did that last time, then you got to do it. No, just respectfully decline. Don't agree to give anybody a turn or do some rule or thing like the command zone does. You can't attack me for a turn. No, just avoid it. If you avoid it, you're not setting yourself up for future failure, future blame on backstabbing, next game, next turn, none of that. Just avoid it. Respectfully decline. Number 3, prioritize the game-winning spells. The easiest example of this is don't counter the tutor, counter the thing that they searched for that's going to help them win the game. And that's easy, but we know that playing Control is harder than that. This takes some experience and it takes some knowledge of the greater Magic landscape in your area or your LGS or your friend group or your family to know. Know what cards are good or good in that strategy you're playing against or good in the commander's deck you're playing against, and prioritize countering or removing or destroying or stealing those spells to shut that line of play off for your opponent. Again, this takes practice and some knowledge, but over time, as you start to pay attention to what's really important to the person that's in first or in second or both in a commander game, once you can pay attention and really parse what the important spells are, you're gonna know what to destroy. Just make sure you're paying attention and prioritizing what you think their greatest path to victory is. Number 2, don't be afraid to draw, go. Instant speed spells are Control players' best friends, and end-of-turn activated abilities are the best things that you can do because you're leaving your options open, leaving mana untapped for as long as possible. Don't be scared to give up a little bit of value or a little bit of tempo or whatever it is by keeping your options open and keeping yourself safe. Control players don't always have a lot of blockers. They don't always have a lot of onboard resources to defend against whatever the opponents are doing. So you have to leave your options open. Where this gets really cool, interesting, and challenging is when you haven't removed your opponent's first or second thing or the thing they tutored for or that thing that is very powerful, when you're letting those things on your opponent's battlefields do the work for you. See if you can convince your opponents to attack that way. Get them to do some of the work. Control players are masters at controlling the battlefield, even when it's not their battlefield to control. This could be a bluff, this could be a persuasive kind of hint at what a different opponent is doing. This could be pointing at the most powerful thing on the battlefield and reminding other opponents that that thing needs to be destroyed. All of those things are creating virtual card advantage for you. Again, it comes down to paying attention to what the biggest threat is. And my number 1 tip for playing Control is develop a reputation. Develop a reputation for being smart and being thoughtful and considerate and knowledgeable about the game and the game in your area or your meta. Develop a reputation by being those things and doing those things and executing control on a high level, on a social level, on a meta level. This is the hardest one to master, but this is how you're going to gain more card advantage, more tempo, more bluffs, more politics, more of everything than any other way mechanically in the game. It's by developing a reputation. Be smart, be thoughtful, be considerate, and be a good control player. And if you want to pick up any control cards, you go to fusiongamingonline.com. You use CCO Summer, CCO Perks, and or whatever promo codes are on the screen. Get a discount on all the stuff you're going to buy anyways. Big thanks to our Patreon supporters, the best community in Magic. I would recommend joining the Patreon over at patreon.com/CCO podcast. Here's a list of our biggest supporters and our totally medium editor right now.